Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Family Show, Season 2, Episode 18, the very awesome Family Show. Today, with me, I have two of the members of Walker's K with me, Gary and Michael. And your music, I gotta say, I was telling you before, um, was very familiar because it's in that genre, the rock genre back then, and the '80s type era,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
and not in a bad way. I mean, it was familiar enough where my ear picked it up and was like, oh, okay, I'm going to enjoy this song because it's something that I recognize. Um, what are some of is it taking stuff from your past, from all the years that you've been playing, and kind of taking it into the new project as well as influences?
Well, first of all, let me say on behalf of Walker's K, Mike and I want to thank you very much for having us on your show. And hello out there to all your watchers and listeners. We appreciate that. To answer your question, yeah, basically, because we're a little bit older for rock guys, I'm in my 60s. Mike's in his late 50s. Sorry, Mike. you know, uh,
57.
Yeah, so the bottom
Yeah.
line is, yeah, we were brought up basically that 70s, 80s kind of stuff, and um the experience that Mike and I both have being in bands and writing and recording have been that kind of genre back in the day. And we would call it, I don't know, Bob, if you remember, we used to call them hair bands, like
Yep,
people
yep,
that
yep,
had hair, and I did,
yep.
and so it's basically hair band type of music. Yeah.
hmm And I went and you and Michael can probably talk to your side of it more uh, than just the audience side, but Metallica had that drive-in concert, and I went to that recently, and it's not the same as seeing. There's just something missing, even if it's the same music and the same set or whatever they play. There's something they're missing, and kind of describe on your side, like there's probably an energy you guys get from people being there more than just recording on a video too.
Oh, absolutely. I,
Yeah.
yeah, I think being there in person is a whole connection, is a whole different platform of listening to a band. Also, you got the energy of the PA and the energy of the audience makes a huge difference too. When they're screaming at you and they're beside you, it just you feed off all that energy.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's nothing like a live show, and Mike and I of course have been on the opposite end watching shows besides being up on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and that energy is phenomenal. However, with COVID and all the protocols in place, which is
Right.
fine because we want to keep people healthy, I guess, and it's not the same. I mean, there have been people going to these outdoor shows and concerts, and if you're not too close to the PA, they're broadcasting on low power FM
Mm-hmm.
transmitters, and you tune in the radio to your car at a frequency that's given, and that's how you're listening. Now, granted, some stereos and radio equipment in cars are phenomenal, especially
Yeah.
higher end models. So you're getting a whole spectrum of audio. It's fantastic, right? But
Yeah.
as Mike said, there's nothing like being up on stage and playing in
Absolutely.
front of people. Yeah, for sure, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is our autism gardens in here, and Linda R. She says she loves hair bands.
Hi,
Uh,
Linda.
uh, what? Speaking of like playing live, though, is there some stories that maybe either from Walker's J or other bands in your past that you remember on the road that just like stick out to you? Like you went to a coffee shop somewhere and it was this crazy little place, and it just sticks in your head as memory like that.
Well, for me, actually, I was up here back in '86 playing with my first band, Craze. And I remember being in the motel, not the motel, it was a hotel for breakfast in the morning. And I'm sitting down with my wife and a couple other band members. And I remember all these guys from the Rosington Collins band came in, and I don't know if you know who that Rosington Collins is. They were the brothers and relatives of Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
Some of the right, and that was a pretty unique thing because we started talking and everything. And back then in the 80s, they paid it forward. I was getting up to pay for my breakfast and everything. And they said, "We got it, Gary." And they paid for my breakfast. So that was a cool thing. But there's a lot of stories to tell because we toured and, I've toured and opened for several major acts in my life. And there's just, we would need a 7-hour show.
Right. Right. Is there any you remember, Michael?
Oh, the only story that really sticks out to me is when I was performing at a small bar, and a fight broke out in front of the stage, and we were kind of distracted. And we didn't know if we should continue the play or just stop. And that's the only real big story I can think of. I mean, if you sit down and you really think about it, there's probably tons of stories you can probably talk about. But that's
Yeah,
the
for
one
sure.
right now that sticks out in my mind.
Right. Right. And Van Vita Travels is popping in here, and she's from Canada as well.
Hi.
Nice.
No, I'm not gonna make a joke like you all know each other because I know better.
No,
than
you
that.
can make a
There's
joke.
too-
We love
there's too,
jokes.
there's too many people that
We can
there's
take
too
it.
many people in Canada.
We could say, you're going to say A or
Good day, eh?
No, I'm not gonna go there. I got a
And
bunch
dude-
of Canadian friends too, so I'm not gonna. Go
yeah,
there.
it's okay. We don't care.
Poutines
But-
and fries.
Right, right. You, Gary, it says you have a gold and platinum record, and you've been doing music for years. And I know when I was younger and learning to play guitar and stuff like that, you have the fantasies of like, be it playing with people or getting stuff like
Sure.
gold record. So how does it feel when you actually see something like that with your name on it and physically hold it in your hand? What is that feeling like?
Well, it was I can't remember what city I was in when I was told the project I worked on sold 500,000. That's in the US. That's a gold album or
Right.
gold record. And then I was very excited, like, wow, that's cool. Show me the money. But
Yeah.
that didn't
Right.
come right away, you know. But I remember then we were at it was a luncheon kind of thing, and our producer came in, and he had a couple of people with him, and they had all these frames, and all that, and they said, "Here, each one of you guys, blah blah blah, you worked on this project, and you sold this project sold 500,000 copies. Same with the million copies for a platinum."
Right.
And they hand them to you, and you're looking at it, and you're thinking, "Wow, who put these fingerprints on there?" No, you're looking at it, and
Yeah.
you can't believe it. And as you say, Bob, you see your name on there, and everything it was so cool. And then you stand in line, and everyone takes a million pictures,
Right.
and all they get is actually reflections off the glass. So that didn't do anything anyhow. So that's basically it. It was a fantastic feeling. Like, wow, this made it all worth it. And then I say again, show me the money, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And Evergreen Homestead's popping in here now as well. And Michael, I mean, I wish I had your setup here just to be able to do editing and stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
On YouTube. Is that like your little home studio setup? So you
Yeah,
guys
that's
can-
my basement studio. I do audio and video on this console, so it keeps me pretty busy. And yeah, it's pretty handy to have.
And I gotta say, that was one thing that I was surprised of so far. You guys don't really have much of a presence on YouTube that I could find. Not too much on there yet. And I didn't see too many interviews, so I want to say thank you for doing an interview with me because it seems like
Well,
you guys don't do them too often.
No, yeah, if I may say, we don't have a lot of YouTube. We probably have, Mike, would you say 8, 9, 10 videos up there of our songs?
Yeah, probably about 8 or 9. We've probably done 45 interviews, but if you go to our website, you can actually see where all the interviews are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
that's the
and-
best place to look at it.
Yeah, I'm
The links
dropping.
are on the website. That's where the links
Yeah.
are under, is it media or news? Something like
It'd
that.
be under press, actually. And if
Press,
anybody
yeah.
else wants to online to take a look at it, look for walkersk.ca, and K is spelled CAY. And you can find the videos, the audio, all the interviews. There's links to other pages. There's pictures of us. Anything you want to find, it's there.
Yeah, and I just put those in the chat, and it's also Walker's K on Facebook and Walker's K1 on Twitter. And then probably like Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. You guys
Yeah,
want
it's all on there.
Yeah,
to,
and as Mike said, the best way for the whole potpourri for anybody that wants to find out anything about the band or see videos, us, even live videos, read about the news. We've had a lot of press around the world.
Yes.
We were number one in we're South
South
Africa,
Africa.
Mike.
Yes.
So South Africa for several weeks, and we still are. We're still up there in the ratings. And iTunes, we were number one. And a lot of those interviews and press, video and or audio, is all linked on our website because that's where many of the people or most people go if they want to find out about us. That's
right,
what they do, basically. Yeah.
right. And I was listening, and it sounded like um, you got some band members, like almost like you do a dating site through the profiles. And I used to do that way back in the day too, like Musician's Friend or something like that, or
Yeah.
Musician Finder back in the day. Um, so the internet probably helped put your band together, and then you're, in South Africa, which way back in the day, with distribution and stuff like that, you would have probably never thought of, your music being over in South Africa, where this allows it to happen today.
That's right. And, the media for any project, any entertainment entity, of course, the internet was the thing that did it. But when you're talking about South Africa, and if you're talking about the major cities there, those cities are just like New York City and Toronto.
Right,
They have
right,
several million people, very modern. It's not in the desert type areas of, of course, Africa.
right,
And people down there as well love all genres of music. And for some reason, we were picked up by several radio stations thanks to our management company, Mike at MTS in Pennsylvania. And he sent them audio files and things, and we got picked up, and they reported back to him that, wow, the video hits and we're playing your music. It's going through the roof, basically. So we were very happy to hear that.
right. And what's the story between you and Michael first getting together and playing? Did you just say, "Hey, I play this," and he says, "I play too," and that's how you kind of got together?
Well, he actually makes amazing bread. So no, no, he does. He does. He's got a bread maker
And the
now.
ribs too.
Yeah, he's a smoker too, and I don't mean he's a
Right,
smoker. He smokes meats, right? It's
right,
fantastic. But no, Mike, I own, as I told you before we started, I own a radio station, an internet station, and several years ago, Mike was a guest on someone's show, and I listened to him being interviewed and talking about technology and what he did and everything. And then afterwards, I kind of went in the studio and sat with him a little bit and said, "Hey, man, I kind of dig what you're about and everything. If I ever start a new project, would you be interested in maybe, being in the band, jamming, see if we gel, this and that, and everything else?" And he said, "Yeah, man, I'm in." And the rest is history.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Yeah.
right. It's kind of funny. What forced you into or not forced you, I guess. What made you decide to start doing internet radio? Was it your experience playing music and being interested in it?
Well, yeah, I've been in the entertainment business for a long time, but I was in live terrestrial radio in New York. I had a show at night, an overnight show on 1180 AM. Was called 3WG Radio, and my listenership went through the roof. And I said, "Wow, this is pretty cool." And I had this great show, and I was doing all this stuff, and basically I said, "You know what? I'd like to buy a radio station." Well, when I immigrated to Canada, that's a no-no because first of all, most radio stations, and you're actually paying for the license,
Right,
especially if you want an FM station, you're talking several $1 million. Um, and one has to become available. And there's only so many frequencies allowed in the
right,
world for stations, so they don't overlap each other. So I said, you know what? In the infancy of internet radio 10 years ago, I looked into it and I said, you know what? I'm going to look into this and see if this is something I want to do. And it was. And hence, Reality Radio 101 has been on the air 24/7, 365 for 10 years, a decade.
wow,
Wow.
So, yeah,
wow.
that's how I got into it, and that's how, we just keep doing it,
Yeah, I did Live 365 way back in the day. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
They
like
went out of business originally.
2004, 2005, somewhere back in
Yeah.
the day. Yeah, it was an interesting time, and you've probably seen it evolve since then,
Yeah.
and get back up. And so, what were you doing in technology then, Michael? That you were on the station?
Yeah, probably back then I was doing pro audio and video on the side, but my main focus was I worked in the nuclear industry for about 29 years, and that's what my main focus was at the time. But I still love playing guitar. I mean, I was always a guitar player right from a young age, and I always had a fascination for good quality electronic equipment. And even at the nuclear station itself, when I worked there, I was working on electronic stuff too. So everything kind of like blended together as far as the knowledge that I acquired over the years.
Right.
So it's always been my passion,
Yeah.
electronics and computers and playing guitar.
Right. It probably all goes together now well with
Oh,
doing this
absolutely.
too,
Yeah.
with being internet and music. And I mean, look behind you. That's how
Yeah.
everything's recorded now is electronically.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Years ago it was the reel to reel and the magnetic
Yeah.
tape and all that kind of stuff.
That's true.
Um, is there one song of yours that I mean you each might have a different one that's one that you enjoy playing live that just that doesn't get old to you that you play.
Well, I think for me personally, I like a lot of our songs that we have written and play and perform live. But I think, again, the two newest songs that we wrote, record, and are out there now in the public domain, I think Why Oh Why is a very good song. And it kind of, we didn't plan this, that it kind of hits home right now. Why oh why is everything happening the way it's happening
Right.
with COVID and a lot of the violence in the world and this and that. So I'm gonna say, for me personally, I think "Why Oh Why" is one of my favorite songs uh, that Walker's K does. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And for me, I think I would be picking also YOY. And then a very, very close second would be is 73 Seconds. It's a pretty amazing tune, too. But YOY just relates to everybody.
Hmm.
And it's got like a little bit of a dark tone to it. And I like the melodic sound of it. And it's got a lot of dynamics to the tune. So it's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real interesting tune, and I like the way that you the way that you guys mix all the instruments. I can pick them out very easily. Like nothing's muddled over the top of each other.
Oh,
So
well, thank
however
you.
you put it together, you know.
Well, I appreciate that comment. It was a lot of work. We spent a lot of hours making that song and putting it together.
Yeah.
But the end result pays for it, and then it shows when when the popularity of the tune that
Right.
we did the right thing by working really hard on it.
And what would you say to anybody out there that's like starting out as a band and they're struggling? What are some tips that you can give them in songwriting and collaboration that make things work better when you guys write?
I excuse me. I would say don't do it. That's number one.
Ah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a tough business. No, here's the thing. If you want to be there's and this is not to put anyone down, Bob.
Mm.
There is in the music entertainment industry, there is certain words and phrases that people use all over the world. And they would say, if you don't want to be a weekend warrior, meaning be in a cover band, play the weekend, play some bar, make your $60,
Right.
try to plug in all your equipment in one receptacle with a light bulb hanging down the center of the stage. The bottom line is, if you want to take it to a level where you want to really be professional, and I'm not saying monetary, because
Hmm.
because even if you're in a cover band and you're playing every week or several times a month, that's a professional, right? Because you're making money. But
Right.
I mean, to the next level, worldwide, maybe be on a tour, you got to do your own music. You have to be original, good, bad, or indifferent. The cover stuff is really good to keep your chops up, maybe to get some experience playing in front of people and playing with a band. But no label, no management company that is serious about what they want to do is going to really, really put their effort all into a cover band. So write music, record music, do your own thing, and be very, very creative.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
That's very good that you said that, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I can add anything to that. The only thing I would say is don't give up if you really want to do it that badly. Just keep working at it. That's all I can say.
Right.
Don't
Yeah,
give up.
or don't do it.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I get a lot.
Yeah.
I see people a lot of times at a music store, what have you, and they come up. And if I've talked to them, they'd say, my son, like friends too, and
Yeah.
is trying to get in a band and this and that and put something together. And I go, why? And it's like they look at me like, well, you're doing it. And I go, yeah, but I've been doing it for 40 years, literally
Right.
4 decades. It's a
Right.
lot different, and
Yeah, that's
things
true.
carry over. So things I learned in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, carried over to the 90s. Then the 90s carried over the 2000s, et cetera, et cetera. You're starting off just now. Number one, competition's fierce. Why? Technology. Everybody's doing an album in their bedroom on a laptop. That's number one. Number two, a true guitarist knows how to tune their guitar, play their guitar, intone their guitar, how to write a chorus, how to write a melody, not just hit something, doesn't matter what comes out. And then I use a file to trigger a sound or a phrase or a piece of music. That's,
Yeah.
you're letting technology do it. And the argument I always get is, well, we still got to put it together. Well, then you're a producer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a good point.
musician. What about the musicians who wrote those samples for you? Right?
Yeah.
They're the musicians. So if I wrote a bunch of cool guitar parts, put them online, and then Bobby comes along and says, I'm going to write a song and uses Gary's parts, you're putting it together as a producer, but you're not playing that stuff. So you didn't write it. You're not a musician. So that's the point. And people will argue that all the time. And you know what? You can argue it. And the bottom line is a lot of people put together music through samples and everything, and it's fantastic stuff. But I'm from the old school, as well as a lot of bands around the world. They're old school. Play your instrument, use technology when you have to. It's phenomenal when you're recording because, back in the day, Bob, you said tape.
Yeah.
And, back then we had to splice tape. We had to cut tape out, all that stuff. And today with the digital environment, it's just a copy, paste, cut and paste, move and paste, it's
Yeah.
easy. And that's what's good about it. But what's not good about it is using technology to create your music. It's not.
Right. There's no soul there really to it.
No soul, man. I don't care what anyone says. And they'll argue that to your blue in the face. And that's fine because, I believe and Mike believes everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been millions of songs put together that way. But again, you see a lot of these musicians that make samples available and people pay drum loop samples. They're playing that stuff. You got a drummer going in the studio spending $100 an hour, full setup, and they're going right. And then that's on an audio thing, and some guy goes, "I wrote a new song. Listen to this." He didn't play it.
Right.
He just put that at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So it's a whole different thing, man. Today, yeah. What do I know? There's nothing left in the world except coffee and cigarettes. That's all.
That's
There
all.
you go.
Yeah, it's and I was talking to you about the I think you have cycles of music like you do in fashion, and you had the rock come back after you had disco, which was really basically producers producing the thing, and then you had the bands actually come back. So I think that's what's going to come back again.
Yeah, because things come full circle, right?
Yeah. You just get it's anything your ear. It sounds new to your ear because even though it's not necessarily new, it's new to your ear because all you hear on whatever station is the same 20 songs all the time, and it's all auto tune now and all heavily effects and everything. So when you hear somebody playing a rock song and you haven't heard that in a long time, it kind of grabs your attention. And I'm sure you probably maybe each of you, like what are some band names that you're glad you didn't choose because they wouldn't be very much in fashion nowadays.
Well, because the world is so politically correct, and that to me is BS. Now, I'm not talking about being a racist or using a word that's a detriment to a religion, race, creed. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
But we've had words from day one that were in dictionaries and taught in school for the longest time. Now, you'd get someone back in the day, even doctors would say, well, this person is mentally retarded, let's say. And that's not a degrading factor. That's the retardation of the mind, mentally retarded. Now it's special needs and this and that. So there's so many things out there that have ruined the English language. And we've never had this problem where we'd have to come up with a name and say, well, no, let's not use it because it can offend someone. We're blessed not to have that happen to us. But I'm sure there's a lot of bands out there that want to call specific songs a certain name, or they want to have their band name called something specific, and they don't because they're what? Afraid of political correctness. So
Right.
basically, to answer your question, Mike and I don't think we've gone through that. Have we, Mike?
No,
Not
I don't think
really.
so. No, not really.
Yeah. So we've been blessed about that. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it gets changed because, you know, people turn it into insulting things, and then you change the words, and that all you're doing is delaying that to where somebody turns that into a bad thing.
Yeah.
So,
And there are a lot of bad words and stuff, but you see, my point I was trying to make before, if you look at the medical community, it's not me saying it. So if there's a listener out there that's offended, I'm sorry I offended you, but think about what you're offended about.
right,
These words and words put together and things are what people around the world have used for centuries. And then in the last 10, 15 years, someone decided, and mostly it's politicians, they decided that's not a good word anymore. Well, why should they decide what's a good word and not?
right,
And, so the bottom line is, I think people that use old words are not meant to be used to hurt people. It's just the way it is. You're talking science, you're talking medicine, you're talking food, you're talking whatever, a way of life, and that's a word. Now, if we change it to be politically correct, who are we really helping? No one, because you're taking a word out of our vocabulary and saying it's bad, bad, bad.
right, right.
So,
Yep, I'm with you there on that.
yeah.
Because if you start to control language, then you can control everything.
Everything.
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
right. Where does it end? And we're seeing that now, right? You control this, then you control that.
Yeah.
And not to get political, because Bob, this is not a political show, but the same people that are for all that stuff, believe me, they won't be for that when they come for them.
Yep,
Right now, the people that agree to that stuff, it's not affecting them.
yep,
And they said, we should do this, and we should have this, and we should. Well, then when it starts affecting you, perhaps you're not going to want it anymore.
yep,
So,
yep.
yeah.
That's all. Be careful. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, man,
Yeah,
for
that's true.
sure.
Good point, Gary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta say, you know, it's very unique position to be where you entertain people for a living because um, you can't let it affect your creativity, but at the same point in time, you almost need that feedback as well to see how you're doing with the product that you're making, whether it's a
Mhm.
song or whatever you're doing. So, how do you balance um, what people are telling you with how you feel about your own work?
Well, Mike, I'm going to let Mike answer this in 1 second. Mike said it best. We get critiques and stuff, right, from people,
Yes.
and you always appreciate that. However, let's be straight. A lot of people, they go to a show or whatever, and they either like you, don't like you, or it's it doesn't matter. I'm there to pick up the check. That's basically what it is. And the point is, you can take everyone's opinion with stride and whatever, but a lot of times the people that have very, very far out or whacked opinions, my address to them is, well, you can talk a good game, but you're not up there doing it,
Right.
right? So if you were
That's
that
a good
good
point.
and you knew exactly what's going on in this business, how come you're not up there doing it? And they actually don't know what to say. But my point I'm trying to make before I let Mike chime in is people would come up and say, you should do this, you should do that. They're not your manager. That's just their opinion. And we respect
Right.
it. But Mike taught me a lesson because I used to say, I'm not listening to them. I'm not listening to them,
Yeah.
whatever. And Mike goes, listen to me, Gary. Listen, it's just one man's opinion. You don't have to take it, right? Or you can take it. It's their opinion. You don't have to agree with them. If you want to agree with them, you do.
Yeah.
But it's just, everybody's got an opinion for something, right, Mike? Is that basically
Yeah,
what you
yeah, that's basically the same thing as me. One thing we do look at is we look at all the comments on the YouTube videos and we see what the feedback is, and usually it's extremely positive. So I think we're doing the right thing we've been doing so far with our recordings.
Mhm.
So I think Gary, you agree on that too. I would imagine, eh?
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that. But as I say, Bob, if you're asking, we need feedback to see if we're going in the right direction. We writing the right music,
Yes.
the right genre, the right look, the right this. And again, it's just people's opinion, and
That's right.
you have to take it to some extent, because all of a sudden, if we got 50,000 dislikes, thumb down, we'd say, what the heck are we doing?
Yeah.
This is not right. We got to go
Exactly.
talk to Bob, because he's got to help us here, because
Yeah.
something's not right. But
Right.
Yeah.
we've been blessed not to have that. So yeah, for
Well,
sure.
Gary, I just thought I'd let you know, and I'll let you know live on the show. One of our songs has hit almost 15.5, or it'd be almost 16,000 hits on the YouTube video, which is pretty amazing.
Wow.
It's
That's great.
yeah, and that's why it's just starting to go up again, which is
Excellent.
I think that's
Well, because
amazing.
we're on Bob's adventures.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Awesome to
Yeah.
hear. I haven't had any hit 15,000 myself, so
Oh, nice.
that's
Well,
always
even in the grand scheme of thing, Bob, if you think about it, 15,000 is a lot, but there's 8 billion or 6 billion people in the
Yeah.
world, so it's
Well,
nothing.
yeah,
No.
well, you get it's one hit at a time, I guess. That's how we're
Yeah.
working at it.
But
Yeah.
we're
So
anyone that watches that, or any of ours, we're grateful. And
oh,
if anyone,
absolutely.
yeah, I
Extremely
mean,
grateful, yes.
oh, extremely grateful,
Yes.
because it just shows that someone watched, and perhaps
Yeah.
they'd make a comment.
Right.
Good,
Yeah.
bad, or indifferent,
Yeah.
but thank you very much.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear. And they can find you on Walker's K. I think I typed in Walker's K.
It's walkersk.ca, and K, as
Well, I
Mike
meant
said.
on the YouTube if they wanted to watch the YouTube video.
Mike, what do we do for
Well,
YouTube?
you know what the best thing for YouTube is? Just go to the website, and if you go to videos, you just click on the link and you get
Okay.
YouTube right away. It's
Okay.
the simplest way to do it.
Yeah,
You can type in Walker's Cade on the YouTube. I just don't know exactly if that's the wording that is the best to search on.
yeah. When I
But
did that, it didn't pull it up. So
yeah,
like add Walker's K music or something like that to your.
you might be able to try Walker's K and then the word band. That may work.
Yep.
But ultimately, if you really want to get a hold of us, just go to the website, and that's the absolute best way to do it.
All right. All right. Yeah. Because I mean, you guys, getting out there, and I think probably you appreciate it more too. Now that you're older, having more success with it as well than necessarily getting successful right off the bat with it. I'm sure, especially for you, Gary, being such a long haul to now having some nice success after all the years with the project that you put together is probably a nice feeling to have.
Well, you know what it is, but I'll tell this to your listeners, and who will be listening in the future. I'm just a musician. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm not someone who cured cancer or has world peace. Those people, including the first line people, first responders, even the grocery store people, especially now with COVID, this is not BS, Bob. They're the heroes. They're the ones interacting with people. They're the ones that save people's lives, the doctors and the firefighters, and the paramedics, first responders, cops, and people working in research and everything. They're the real heroes. And yeah, I'm happy about my success. I'm a dude that knows 7 chords on guitar. And I mean that literally.
Yeah.
I think Mike taught me 2 more one time. So I
Perfect.
might be up to 9.
Right.
That's it. And I sing, okay? And I'm very grateful for what I do and the people that like us, but whatever you do, don't plant roses on us. We're just a band.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, I'm same with Gary. I never really thought about it much before, but Gary had the same conversation a few times, and he's absolutely right. We're just guys who play guitar, and we know a few chords, and we put something together. But the true heroes are the guys that save lives. That's a very
Yeah.
good point.
For sure.
So I'm exactly in the same page as Gary with that.
Yeah, they're that's the people that actually make the world go round.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
the people helping people that are down and out physically, mentally, the people saving lives, the people saving the world, people that
Yeah.
are trying to cure disease,
Mm,
and as I say, right down to the frontline grocery workers during COVID, we have to eat to live, and you have all these millions of people working the grocery stores and everything else, and they're the real heroes. And you know what? If I was able and I had multi millions of dollars, those would be the people that I would want to give money to and to say
mm,
thank you for sure. You
yeah.
know, not the guys that run around on stage like we do and look like an idiot for an hour and
Right,
a half
right,
and play to blow your ears out and say, "How
Yeah.
you doing tonight?" I mean, that's what is that? Come on.
right,
What is that? That takes nothing to do,
right.
right? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. I mean, it's not the same effort, but I'm sure you've had people that your songs have affected them where it helped them out a little bit. I mean, it's not the same as saving somebody's life, but I'm sure it's helped them get through some tough times.
Well, we can only hope if it's a good thing.
Mm.
We've probably had some people too that after they heard our music wanted to become an alcoholic, so
Mine go
or
both ways.
yeah, it can go both ways, right? But Bob, you're right, and that's a very, very, very nice thing for you to say. And yeah,
Yeah.
if it helps anybody, and Mike and I, we're the band. The rest of the people in the band are touring people. We bring in people. We would
Mm.
like to eventually, at some point in time, get permanent members, but like a lot of bands, we're like a Hall and Oates kind of thing right now, where we write, we record, we do it all, and then we say, okay, we're gonna play these gigs, go on this tour. We bring in a bass player, another guitar or a drummer, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we did help people, and we're very, very open, they could contact us at any time through the website,
Mm.
and you want to talk, you have questions, you want advice, whatever, we're very open to have people do that, and we will get back to you. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. And your radio show, the radio station's still going. Do you still do a show on there? On
I
the
Yeah, I'm the senior executive producer, so I produce all of them, and I do interact with a lot of them, but I don't have my own show, but I do interact with a lot of the other shows, and we have music shows and sports shows and gardening shows and psychiatric shows and political shows. It's a regular station. And basically, when we're not doing those live streams, those live shows, which are 99% at night,
right.
it's classic pop and rock 24/7. So people can tune in anything to hear Boston all of a sudden, and Led Zeppelin, and all of a sudden it goes to Frank Sinatra. Because
Wow.
anything that was a pop or a rock hit is
Right.
on there. So yeah.
Right. So it's like basically turning back on the radio back at that point in period where you would hear on the pop station
Hmm.
rock and Frank Sinatra at the same time.
Absolutely. You hear it, fly me to
Yeah.
the moon. And next thing you hear is, a song by Loverboy. It's pretty cool. It's a cool genre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
Um, is there a station that you remember, both of you, that you remember listening to back in the day, like the first, like maybe first time you got to control the radio and you're like, I'm gonna listen to this station.
Yeah. For me, born and raised in New York, um, there was a station, an AM station called WBBF. I don't remember what the numbers were. And then there was a station in Rochester, New York called, it's still around. It's a very, very popular rock station, FM station, where most of our music got played originally when we first had the album come out. And it's called 96.5 WCMF. And it's in Rochester, New York, and a phenomenal rock station. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, the only station I can really recall, it was an AM station, and I could only get it after 9 o'clock at night once the sun went down. It was called WLS, and maybe Gary knows about this station because I think it was an American station, but I
It
have no
is.
idea where it was located.
It's in Boston.
It's in Boston.
Yes.
Wow. So I used to get that after 9 o'clock up in Northern Ontario, believe it or not, Northern Canada, and I could get that no problem. It was amazing. Amazing
Well,
station.
and most likely because it's a clear, what they call a clear channel station. You know those stations in
Yep.
the U.S. They're 50,000 or more watts, and of course
Oh, okay.
they have to be directional and non-directional. At night, a lot of times they either up their power or down their power because you
Oh,
can't
okay.
cross frequencies. But Massachusetts borders Canada up there. You know, it's
Yeah.
northeast in the U.S. and I could see the signal coming right up to Ontario, so that's probably what
Yeah.
happened.
I tried to get
Yeah.
it during the day, but no, couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And forever best friend, their job was at
Hey, WMMS.
yeah, in Cleveland. So yeah,
So let's do some promos for you right now.
okay.
Okay, so here we go. Ready? Okay, so when people listen to Bob's Adventures, is
Mhm.
it called Bob's Adventures on Wheels or just Bob's Adventures?
Most of the time people would say Bob's Adventures.
Okay, and if someone says you're listening to that, do you say you're listening to that on? Is it something or just you're listening to Bob's Adventures?
Well, I've started to do because I have Epidemic Sound, and through
Mhm.
that, they have a licensing thing that you can get through them, so you can use it in your YouTube and your social media and whatever. And so I have a service through them. So I've actually been doing a thing where I play the music and do it like a radio show because I used to do 80s rock and radio back in the day. So I did a show that was 80s hair metal and all that kind of stuff, like we were talking about
Mhm.
earlier. And so I do what I call Why Bob Radio now, and I say
Okay.
why because I can. That's my little tagline on it. So if you want to do one, you can do one for
I'll
that.
do it right now while everybody's listening. So,
Excellent.
but I'm gonna say you're listening to Bob's Adventures on, and then what should I say on, or just don't say anything on? Like you're just
All right,
listening to Bob's Adventures, and then
you can just
period,
say
or
that. Yeah, you can say you're listening to Bob's Adventures. Yeah.
just that's it. Okay,
Yeah,
so here we go.
or you can say on Why Bob Radio.
Okay, well let me do this. Okay, so here we go. In 3, 2. Hi, this is Gary Labar from Walker's Cay, and you're listening to Bob's Adventures.
Yeah, that works. That works. I'll have to cut that out. Let me write this down.
Look at that. Look at your
Oh,
timestamp.
42 minutes after I got it right.
Excellent.
Mike, you want to do one?
I'm terrible at those. I'll let you do those.
So okay, so you want another
You got
one?
you got the voice.
You're listening to Bob's Adventures on something, like I said, or not? Just do another one.
This is what she said: meet new friends and be part of the family watching Bob's Adventures. What forever?
Okay, so could you keep that up on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So meet new friends and be part of the. Is it Vamily?
Yeah, family. Very awesome family.
Okay, here we go. Ready? We'll do take 1.
All right.
Hi, this is Gary Labar from Walker's Cay. Meet new friends and be part of the family watching Bob's Adventures.
Yeah, good job.
Excellent.
Good job. Nice. Yeah, I had the radio host on here from a show, BJ Shea. I don't know if you've ever
Yeah,
heard.
I know. Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, so I had him on here, and he had problems with the audio, and I'm gonna have him on here again. But
Oh,
yeah,
very cool.
if you know him, I'll tell him.
I know of him, actually, absolutely, man. And I think
he started in Boston.
yeah, Boston or New York, I was going to say. Yeah, for sure. Ask him if he was on in Rochester too.
I will. I'll ask him.
At WCMF.
Yeah, I'll ask him.
That station I mentioned. Yeah, for sure. I'm positive he was with. If you want to write this down, there's a world famous DJ like Howard Stern.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Brother Weeze.
Oh, Brother Weeze. Yeah, I think me and him were having a discussion about him actually.
Okay, then it is him. Then Brother Weeze has interviewed me several times in the 80s.
Okay.
Actually, on my album release party in New York for our first album, he was the guy who came up on stage and announced us because he was friends with our executive producer.
Wow.
And I think BJ Shea was a part of his show at one time. So he would know me and I would know him at some point in time. Yeah, for sure. Small world, man.
Yeah, I'll have to ask him. Yeah, he's
man.
KSW here in Seattle. That station's been around forever. Had Bob Rivers there way back in the day, and all that kind of stuff. So
it's great, Mike. By the way, while Bob and I are talking, you can go home, Mike.
No,
anyways,
it's exciting. I like listening to this stuff.
Poor guy, he's sitting there going,
No,
"Can I talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, for sure, Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a small world when you really think about it. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
But do you have you guys doing any recording of any new songs now? Are you putting down some material at least in the time that we have off?
Mike's gonna hit me. And he's not a violent person. There's 2 new songs I just finished writing, and he has been, because COVID, we've been separated, of course, right?
Mhm.
He's at his house, I'm in my house, and we don't live that far. We're about 10 minutes away from each other, actually. 2 different towns up here in Canada, but we're pretty close. But we're outside of Toronto, and he's been saying, "Look, man, get those 2 songs down. Just set your phone up," because I'm not a technology guy at all. And he says, he's like, I don't care what they sound like or anything. Just record them, send them to me so I could start working on some leads and things. Right. And I've been putting it off because I'm going through some things. Right. And so to answer your question, we're not really recording anything in the studio right now, but that's coming pretty quick.
It is. You're right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. You have lots of ideas at least coming at this time.
Oh, I got tons, man, tons.
And do you, do you like both share an equal load of songwriting, or are you stronger in lyrics and like Rush? Neil Peart wrote most of the lyrics even though he didn't sing. Is it kind of like a relationship like that? You each have strengths that the other one doesn't.
Well, yes and no. I mean, a lot of times I come up with the concept of the song and write it. Mike listens to it. And then, being the lead player in the band too. And of course he plays rhythm, right? But, he might say, let's try this or change this, or I'm going to do this. And then he kind of puts the technology to it. Like if I'm in the studio laying something down, he might say, that part would sound better if you put this track to the left and make it chorusy. Keep this one clean and we'll do it this way. And then right in the middle, I want you to put a crunch in there. So we all kind of put our hands into it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the ideas I come up with, and because I'm always thinking, man, my mind goes a mile a minute.
Yeah,
right?
you're more of the composer of the band for sure.
Yeah, and so, but we credit wise, we're equal. I mean, we're all the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You basically throw the molded clay up there that's close, and then everybody else polishes it down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I try, when I write something, I try to write really, really, really hard parts so I frustrate Mike on purpose.
Exactly.
No, I'm only kidding. No, he the stuff that I have an idea in my head, sometimes I just hum it to him.
Right.
And he goes, "Okay, that's good enough. I'll work with that."
Yeah.
And then he works with it, and he writes these phenomenal leads, right?
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, man, it works. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have those sometimes too, where you can just like do a little melody, like you.
Yeah, it's all I do. I'll hum something to him. Go. And he got it. He gets it. Goes, all right. Here's what I'm going to try. And
See, Gary, you kind of remind me of Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. He's the exact same way. When they're in the studio, you'll hum something, and the rest of the band will, put it together.
Even drums, I play drums at my mouth.
Phenomenal.
Like if we're doing a part and we're doing it over and over, I go, I don't like that. So the drummer will say, okay, well, what are you hearing? Then I'll go,
yeah, exactly.
And I go, okay, all right, I got it.
There we go.
And he does it, right?
Yeah.
So that's just me. Screw drum machines.
Right. Well, it's got to be satisfying though to have people around you that can do that though, because to be able to have that idea and be like, I want it to sound this way, and then try to get it out there, and then they can't reproduce it. That's got to be frustrating, because I know I never was able to play guitar as good as I wanted to, so I'd have ideas for songs, but I could never get it out even though I'd have
Yeah.
some sort of melody in my head. So that's probably got to be a blessing.
Well, on the opposite side of that, to be perfectly honest, I've come up with parts and things that I don't think the band live per se would be capable of.
Mm,
So I changed the part, and it's too bad. And it's not a question of saying, well, the guy's not good enough. That's not it. You know, sometimes because I do compose, I am a composer, and I mean that like I've had enough training where I can compose something bluesy and even classical because I'm hearing the French horns, the strings, the timpani. I'm hearing everything, right?
sure.
And I'm always adding things or taking away. But you have to be a realist at this as well. If we can't really reproduce everything, and I don't mean 100%, if you can reproduce everything at least 90%, your audience will appreciate it. But if there's something we keep trying and trying, it's not working, I'll say, you know what? We might have to change it because I don't want to shortchange the people live by putting something on the album
Right.
and then not doing it live. That's to me, it's kind of cheating.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a unique position now because I think that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like they put songs on there, they never want to have to worry about reproducing
Yeah.
live.
And not to say, you know, like my training basically is more progressive than rock that we're doing now. I love progressive stuff, and that's the first album in my band was all progressive. And it was more of a Genesis type of thing, Rush. It was more progressive stuff, right? Very moving and fast and different time signatures and all that. And the point is, you know, you want to write stuff like that too. But if I have a song that I want to write like that and put it on an album, that would be an album song, and basically we would promote that. Sorry folks, we're not going to play it live because
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to bring unless you know you bring in the extra people, right? Because a
Right,
lot of
right,
bands they bring in string ensembles, right? You know what I mean, and extra musicians and extra two guitars and keyboardists, and I would do that. Like Total writes a lot of great stuff like that,
right. Mm-hmm.
but to do that, you really need the musicianship live to pull that off. And with four guys going out there, unless everyone's doing nine things at once, like Geddy Lee,
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We one of the people that I know here on YouTube actually used to be one of the roadies for Toto. So
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
I
yeah.
love that band. Those guys
Yeah.
are the epitome of instrumentation, knowing like Sticks. They know their instruments
Mm-hmm.
and they tune their guitars. You know, they
Right.
play.
Yeah.
And they reproduce everything just like it's on the album. And if they have to bring in multiple keyboard players or whatever, they'll do it, but they will reproduce it. And that's the type of band that I always dream of is like, okay, you got our core people, Mike and I, and you bring in a couple people,
Right.
but I would love to bring in an extra vocalist, a keyboardist, this and that. And that really shows as a band, right? Because you can show your talent by having those people in the band.
Yeah. Well, and then you're also, your production cost goes up
Of
when you have
course.
all that too. And so,
Yeah.
Of
That's
course.
true.
Of
you know,
course.
if
It make
if this album takes off and you hit those heights, then you never know. Your next album could be that progressive album where you can
for
take
sure.
a big group on
Yeah.
tour. Um,
That's right. As Mike and I have said several times, it's not the question for us anyway, not most musicians, but it's not a question of money for us. The money is an added benefit when we play and we make money on sales and our shows. That's a great thing. And merchandise, it's a great thing. But it's to put something together and to entertain people and let them forget about life for a while. You
yeah,
know, you come out and listen to us and like us or hate us,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
applaud or throw something on stage, you know, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
But you know, it makes people forget about life for a while, and that's basically what it is to be creative, right? And you, Bob, I mean, look what you're doing. For folks of you listening who don't know what your plan was to go around the United States of America on Bob's adventure,
hmm
right? It's not adventure; it's supposed to
hmm
be adventure in your
yeah,
van,
yeah,
and to interview people that have YouTube videos. Is that correct?
yeah. Not just. I mean, that's how it started out. Was just YouTube videos, and that's kind of where I'm like, I regrouped it, put it on wheels because I don't want to just limit to a van. I'm gonna get whatever the best vehicle I can go on tour is, but I want to go to YouTubers places, but also whoever else I can talk to. Like for me, like talking to you guys um, is something that I didn't even think was going to be possible for maybe a year or two till I got to the point where I was going to be interviewing other people.
Yeah.
But now that's happened as well, and so it changed it, and it sucks that it happened that way. But it's also given me another more time to kind of like what you're talking about when you add polish to a song, add polish to it, and be so used to doing it live this way that I'd like to, and now that I have had more happen, it allows me to dream bigger. I don't know if you guys have had that experience too. Like,
Of course.
you don't
Yeah,
want to set
absolutely.
yourself up for disappointment, so you don't want to dream too big at first.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be able to do this live at theaters, like maybe talk to a band before they play a show, and then interview them then, and then because to me, I always enjoyed like the VH1 storytellers and unplugs and all that stuff because I love hearing the stories behind the songs.
I could see you behind the music with
Yeah.
Bob.
Oh, I used to watch Behind the Music all the time. Oh,
In 1995, Bob had a dream, a big dream.
Yeah.
But things got cut short. He did not win the lottery.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it puts more context to those songs though, and makes me almost hearing them a different light because then I can hear them from the songwriter's perspective and not from my own perspective of hearing them. And so that's what I'd like to turn it into, and I appreciate you saying that. And it's
Why don't you give yourself a plug for Patreon?
all right. If you guys want to check me out on Patreon, it's Bob's Adventure on Patreon. You can check it out there. I call everybody there. It's initial B.A. And if you can figure out what that is, but I'll tell you, it's badass. So anybody that supports me, I consider you a badass. But
See, Mike, we turned the interview around. We're going to start interviewing Bob right now.
I see that.
So, Bob, do you have any social presence? What's your website, Bob?
BobsBanter.com. You can go there as well. But I'm on all the social media. And it's been a trip. I've only been doing this on this channel and interviewing people for a short time, and only had my channel for a little over a year. But I've tried over and over again to have something like this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so to actually have it happening right now, I mean, as we're talking, it's literally happening right now. And sometimes it takes a lot to be present in that moment.
Sure.
And I'm sure there's times, and I'm really trying to do that now because I know that from working on doing this multiple different stages, either a podcast before, or like I was talking to you on my 365.
Yeah.
All that stuff way in the past. And now I'm seeing it start to take off. I'm really trying to be mindful of being present in the moments that I'm in and enjoy them for what they are. And I'm sure that's probably something that you had to learn over your career in music.
Yeah, for sure.
To appreciate it, because not just with the band you're doing now, but you probably worked with a bunch of musicians before that have helped you in innumerable ways, either
That
be a
helped
better
and
musician
hurt.
or a person, or hurt.
Or hurt. Yeah. But you're right. Absolutely. But for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just put up for people. I didn't mean to interrupt you. But I just put up too, in case people are wondering. I think I put on my name up there if they can see that.
Yep.
We have walkersk.ca. I put that up as well while you were talking. So,
and that's in the description, and I've been putting it in the chat as well. People can go there and get all your stuff if you want to go find it. walkersk.ca. And thank you guys again for being here.
Yeah, you know what? We can't thank you enough. Mike and I love doing these interviews because
absolutely.
Not only is it promotion for us, of course, let's be straight about that.
Right.
But we meet a new friend and we'll follow you.
Awesome.
And I think what we're going to be doing, Mike does handle a lot of the website stuff, the social media. We're going to put a tab and a page that we haven't done yet of links to people that reverse link, that we support. And a lot of these interviews, people that have podcasts and live shows and blogs and everything, we're going to be putting that up. So eventually you will be up on our website as well. And, when we do that page and everything, and we'll go from there. We would appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd love to have you guys back on again too. Like when you
anytime,
and all that stuff, and we can talk more because it'd be really awesome, and we can BS about radio stuff or whatever you want to as well. So
okay, so hang on, don't take us off yet.
Okay.
I just want to do something here for you. So hold on, if I could.
All right.
Just want to figure something out here. Okay,
No
so
No problem.
let's just do this. Now you are, and this is your live show, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let me just do something here. Okay, so you ready for this? I'm gonna. Okay, here we go. Stand by. Here we go. You've been listening to Bob's Adventures on Wheels right here with Mr. Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. Get that
Nice.
Molly crew going for sure.
Yeah.
That
Got
was
energy going.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that was
anyways.
an enjoyable show
Yeah.
to see when I saw them live as well. But walkersk.ca, thank you guys for being here. I'll say goodbye to these guys. Stick with me for a minute. Till next time, guys, stop waiting for life to happen and make it happen. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll be in touch with you to sing you some merchandise.